It is my privilege to introduce Carrie Brown to share her job search story. Carrie, it's all you.
Well, I tell you, it's been quite the adventures. It started off a little rough, so I guess the beginning is the best way to start, right? So, for those of you that don't know me, I've been a nurse for 28 years. I'm 52, so I'm not a youngster going into the job market. And I guess, for me, I had been with this company for 7.5 years. I had done layoffs with my team before, but I hadn't been impacted personally by one. And so, when I had laid off my team, I was very supportive, helped them with their resumes, helped them with whatever they needed, and, tried to help, transition them to other roles within the company. And so when my turn came, it was just you could see it coming, right? Over the last year and a half, every Thursday there was a layoff, it seems. And so I was just waiting. I was just waiting. And so it finally was my turn. I got January 23rd, I got the call. I never heard from my supervisor again after that, ever. And my last day of work was February 6th. And so I had this realization of, okay, I was talking to my friends. It had been like 9 to 12 months. They were still out of work in the line of work that I was doing with care management, working from home. My realization was I have 4 months. That's it. I have 4 months. I'm a single mom. I have 4 kids. I have two left in the house that are teenagers. So I couldn't move. So I had this realization like, there's no time to waste. I got to get down to business. There was no, waiting. Let's just relax for a few weeks or whatever. There was nothing. So I was right down to hustle, grind, and I was relentless, is what I was. So I guess how it all started then with the situation. HR, when I first got laid off, was, we apply internally and we were supposed to have preferential treatment, which I never got one interview, which was the case with everybody else in my cohort group that got laid off. So, you can kind of see maybe they had one position open for the 400 people they let go. I don't know. But so what I did after that, I waited and I signed my severance package knowing that, there I had forgone my what do you want to call it, tenure with the company, and that coming back in it would be prorated if I ended up coming back, but I wouldn't have my 7.5 years as it was. And it was enough. It was pretty, for that many years of service, it was a pretty pathetic one, I'm not going to lie. But it gave me 4 months of reprieve that, I had my mortgage. That's about what it came down to. And so what I did was, I of course attended the weekly calls with Steve, and I tried to attend the group ones when I could because it's nice for encouragement. I was on the other side, like, I don't even know where to start. I hadn't even looked for a job since 2017. So, a lot has changed since then with COVID and this LinkedIn thing. I'm like, what the heck is this? And so, for me, I set daily goals of, I had a minimum of 10 a day. But what I did for my resumes is I kind of experimented. So I did, because I heard about the bots and all of this stuff, that they pull certain words out or whatever. Well, I had the experience where it didn't matter. It didn't matter. So the first one that I did, like my first month and a half, I did all that. I changed my resume. It took me 45 minutes to apply for one. That's why I limited it to 10. That was all I could do. It was ridiculous. And I was just like living and breathing the computer for that first couple months. And so what I would do is I would take my resume, I put it into Chat GPT, and then I would take the description from the, whatever I was applying for, stick that into Chat GPT. I would just copy and paste it. And then I would say, okay, make a resume and, tailored using my exact resume for this position. And then it would spit out this, new resume, and I would attach that resume then over onto the job application, on the job application. So it was quite a process. I mean, it would take time to do all of that. And then of course for when you do get an interview, which was few and far between for me, I would research the company on Chat GPT, and I did all of my interview questions on that. I would say, give me anticipated questions that a hiring manager would give me, and then give me answers and bullet points to answer them using my actual resume. Examples off of my resume. So then I had my talking points ready to go. And that's how I prepped with myself. I also had a friend that's an actuary in non-clinical. And so I would bounce stuff off of her because her brain works differently than mine. And we go vice versa when she has to interview for things. And so it's nice to like bounce off questions and stuff with somebody that's unrelated to your field. So that was really, really helpful. I changed my resume. I had two versions. I had one that was like more granular with everything on it. And then I had a kind of an enhanced one that was kind of a rolled up version because, I've been a nurse a while and getting one page is a little hard. So I had a rolled up version. And then I also made a matching cover letter to match that. And I talked to one of my friends. This is when you use your friend network. That would happen to be like a graphic designer. And I said, help me. And she's like, no problem. She whipped this thing up like in a day. It was ridiculous. So reach out. And if there's things that, people have templates, there's all different kinds of things that you can do for that. And then trying to think. Oh, and then I used the Chat GPT to update my LinkedIn profile. So I literally said, here's my resume, make me a header in LinkedIn. And then it spit this out. And so I bonded with Chat GPT a lot. That was like my BFF. And I'm trying to think of what else I did. I did change the resume. I don't know if you want to show them what I did with my resume, Steve. Do you have those pulled up?
I do. Which one do you want me to show first?
I can show the more granular one first.
Is that the one that doesn't match the?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think it's this one. We'll see. Can you guys all see a resume?
I can. So this was my granular one where I had like my core competencies because HR, they look at that very first top part. And so I threw everything in there that was related to, what I could do skill set wise. And then under each of my personal experiences, I put a value contribution as to what I brought to that role. So, and I had a killer role in 2024, and I was so mad because they kept my bonus for 2025 when I got laid off, and I had a killer 2024. So that was a really hard pill to swallow. And so this is just kind of an example of what I did. I put in my LinkedIn profile up at the top with my phone number, email, but really getting those core competencies in, and the value contribution is what I did for that one. And then you can show the other one, Steve.
Hold on.
It says, there it is. Okay, now I see it. And so this was this was my updated one, that it's, again, core competencies on the left. That's where I listed all of them. And then I rolled up.
That's unusual.
Yeah, I rolled up all of my experience with United Health Group into one from 2017 to present. So it shortened it. And then I was able to, put like my experience and on that left-hand side there. So it kind of kept it cleaned up and, easier to read. And then they said to make a brand. So she did that. So that was like another template that I used. And then what I ended up doing was, now that I had that template, I made a cover sheet to match it. Because a lot of times the positions, they ask for a cover sheet. And so I don't know if you want to show that one real quick.
I
So
would.
this was Carrie's handiwork. So since I had the template from my friend for the resume, I attempted to
Wrong one. Hold on.
uh, yeah, I attempted to use it for a cover letter. So I just used the B, to make it match and everything. So that's how I did it.
Is it showing now?
Yeah. So I tried to make it so that it had a similar feel. And then for the inside, what I did, same thing with Chat GPT. I took my resume. I would take the job I was applying for, put that into Chat GPT, and then I would say, okay, make me a cover letter, related to this. And sometimes I would say, research, like in this one, it was Curana, like research Curana and make it a cover letter for them. And then it would spit it out. So that's what Chat GPT spit out. And I had it put key highlights of what I did that was related to the position. So that's how I did that. It's very time consuming, pain in the butt, but that's what I had to do. And so that was how I did some of the positions, but that's why they took so long. And so I did that. And then while I was going through this adventure, I wasn't getting any bites, nothing, for at least 2 months. And so I decided, okay, I have to have some money coming in and get some insurance going because my insurance was gone and I needed insurance for the kids. And so I decided one of my friends had reached out. And she's like, "Oh, come work at the bank." It was her bank, and they had some opportunities for growth there. I'd never worked in a bank in my entire life, but I'm like, okay, we'll give it a shot. It's better than, some other options that people had told me about. So anyway, so I went in there. It was about 3 weeks, epic disaster. Um, you know, it, they were kind of in disarray and a lot of change management going on, and it just was not a good fit. So I had quit, which in hindsight, 2020, I wish I would never have done that because it really screwed me on my unemployment. So then they wouldn't allow me to have any unemployment after that. So now here I am trying like with no money coming in. I have no child support. I have no unemployment. And, the state of Wyoming feels it's okay for whatever reason. I had a few choice things to say to them about that. But so anyway, so this was my reality. And I'm just like, I just refuse to believe that I'm going to lose everything. I just could not allow myself to go there. It was too catastrophic. And so I had an interview with a company, which I'm not going to say the name, but it was the most bizarre interview I had ever had in my entire life. So it was going to be a traveling job, cardiac position. It was more like a medical sales position, I guess you could say. And they paid decent, a lot of traveling. So what they had me do for the interview is I had to give a presentation as if I was talking to their, like I was doing the job, but, even though I hadn't been trained on it. So I had to give a half-hour presentation. I did that. And then afterwards, they had a role-playing scenario, which was the weirdest thing for me ever. And so I just got done doing this presentation, which, you have to prep for, you're not getting paid for. It took me all weekend away from my family doing it. And then I get on this panel call and they're like aggressive out of the chute at me. And I'm like, I don't know any of these people, so I don't know if it's acting or if that's who they really are. And I had a feeling that's who they really were, but so it was just the most, it really put me back. And I'm like, wow. And that was like my first interview. And I was so anxious, trying to get this all done and prepped. And, I was really proud of myself that I had presented well. And then it just like went sideways really fast. And then the interview, they just like said, okay, bye. And they shut off the call. And I was like, what just happened here? That was the most bizarre thing I've ever been through in my entire life. And so after that, I'm like, is this how the interviews are going to be from now on? I had no idea. And so I really hadn't had much interview, like from then. And so I just ended up I'd said, okay, I'm just going to be like George Costanza and do opposite day. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to just be opposite. That's what. So I was bold, and I wrote CEOs. I wrote, presidents. I didn't care. I was just like balls out, don't care. And I just went just really super bold. And I connected with people I didn't even know. I actually had better luck talking to people I didn't know. And I followed every single recruiter I could on LinkedIn. I'd reached out to them, had some hit or miss stuff with that. And, for the interviews, I'd interview the company with Chat GPT. What are some, and I put in there, tell me something that I could say that would really make me stand out as a candidate, like a wow statement or something, and using my resume results. And that's really how I prepped an interview. And it was really good because you could do my whole computer screen. I should send Steve the picture. But I had note cards stuck everywhere. So then when I talked, up the top by the camera, it would be up at the top. And I mean, my entire screen was with note cards. And so that's how I would talk because, when you get nervous, you forget. And especially high stakes pressure that I was under is just insane. It was insane. So my last one then, just to kind of, I know you guys don't want to hear me ramble all day, but to hear me with, like my last role that I applied to, it was with Scan Health, and they had 6 interviews I had to go through, 6. And they were with, I think a total of 12 people. Some were panels, some were individual. It was an extremely thorough process. They have an extremely good culture. So I guess that's the benefit from, having to deal with a lot of the, drama up front, having to, endure all the interviews. But it went really well. You don't know personalities, you don't know what you're getting into sometimes, especially after that panel call that was so bizarre. Like, I don't think I'll ever go through anything like that again. It was bizarre. But at the end of it, it took me 2.5 months of interviewing because, each phase in the process was a week or two out, as you guys know. And it literally took me 2.5 months to finally make it to the final stage. And meanwhile, I'm at that 4-month mark. Now I don't have any unemployment. I don't have any child support, nothing. And I'm just like, I'm on fumes going to the finish line. And I had my last interview, and this is all in the back of my mind. And I'm just like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And, putting on a happy face, like, oh, all is well. I'm in the best state of my life. This is my best version of myself. And it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal, but I did end up getting it. And then, but I negotiated, even though I needed this job like no other, and they knew it. There was like over 900 applicants. It was insane. But I'm like, nope, I know my worth. I know how much work this is going to be coming in, and I can hit the ground running. I've done it before for 4 years, and I have proven results. Boom, so I laid out the case for why I felt I should get paid more. And they came back with what I had proposed, and they ended up giving me a bonus. So because I didn't make it in time for the insurance, so I wanted something with insurance, but I have to wait a month. So my insurance is in July. So it's not very comforting, but what do you do? So, but I landed it, and I start. Let's see, it'll be on 6/9, so in 8 days. So I guess from January 23rd to 6/9, that's my adventure. It was, I tell you, it is not for the faint of heart, but I was just absolutely relentless. That's the only thing I can say, relentless. But so that's my journey, and I'm sure people have had similar experiences, but I'd love to answer questions, or if you need anything, don't hesitate. But I really think networking is really big, even if it's not in your department. Helping your friends, like I would reach out and say, you guys are looking, what are you looking for? give me your resume, and then I would pass it along. So I mean, you're even helping people that maybe aren't in your network. So, and that was how I with recruiters too. When I would reach out to them, I said, I have a lot of friends working in other areas. Here's my stuff. What else are you looking for? I can feed them your way. So, but yeah, I was like that constant bugging.
Carrie, will you share when you interviewed with the people that were, what do you call the first line people? It was a panel, and you did have an insider. Tell him about having an insider and reaching back, and he said they scored you really bad. You didn't do well. Will you tell that part of your journey?
Um, yeah. So what ended up happening is I was in competition, of course, with internal candidates. There was 900 external and then internal as well. I don't even know how many. And it's very heavily social worker, and they're kind of pivoting to a different, I guess, path where it's going to be a little bit more clinical facing. And so of course, people are people and they want who they know. You pick your poison that you know, right? And so they were wanting their friends to, have the position, which I totally understand. But they rated me a little. I guess some of the feedback was that they didn't know if I ran a team, and I'm like, I talked about my team the entire interview, so I was a little confused on that. I was trying to have positive intent with that, but and I understood why. And so I had to do another interview as a result with clinical people. And of course, the clinical people were like, "Yeah, of course she's ran teams. This is silly." And so that kind of negated some of the um, other feedback that was provided because they do results and they hire based on everybody's input. So it's not just the hiring manager that gets to pick. It's like the group picks. So it was important. Um, but yeah, it was just a little frustrating. But I think that happens so often is, people that are wanting positions internally, which, I can appreciate, but I really feel like sometimes your chances are cut short at no fault of your own, especially for interviewing. And my favorite was when I would apply and 5 minutes later I get a rejection letter. Like, oh, okay, yeah, thanks for thoroughly reviewing my resume. But yeah, it was, having an insider definitely helps, but um, it was an experience, that's for sure. But I'm just glad 6'9" I made it over the goal, and I am on fumes. I have like $200. That's where I'm at. 200. I have gas money until the night. I told mom and dad I'm gonna have to borrow some more money for gas, but yeah, it was crazy, crazy, crazy experience. But I'm definitely different than when I did it in 2017. But it's a perfect position for me. It's doing what I love, which is care management. With the elderly and complex care. I helped to design programs, so it's going to be a perfect fit. So in the end, it was worth the wait. But during the process, I'm just like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? So I definitely empathize and commiserate with people that haven't made it to the finish line yet. It's brutal, brutal, brutal. But I'm rooting for you. Lots of prayers. Lots of prayers.
Well, it's tradition. As you've been here before, Carrie, we're gonna pick people. I'm gonna pick somebody right out of Wyoming, Wyoming girl to Wyoming girl, and this is where people ask questions or just wish you well, or both. Carol.
Unmute. Sorry, background noise. Husband left the TV going. Congratulations. Are you there?
Yep.
I have to speak up a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Congratulations. Where in Wyoming are you, real quick?
Cheyenne.
You're in Cheyenne. Well, that's better than being in Centennial. So, could I
Yeah.
ask, could I ask, could I ask you a favor? Could you connect with me on LinkedIn? Your name is too common. So, I'm the only one, I believe, that has my full name there, so it's easy.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I can put it in the chat too. Um,
Yeah, thank you.
And Carol,
Um,
Carol put hers in the chat too.
yeah,
oh,
mine's in the chat too, and those are the things I'm looking for. So, um, yeah, I like. So my question to you, when you really, because Steve knows me, and I'm kind of an introvert. Um, when you said you just went out of your comfort zone after the first 2 months and started, just finding people on LinkedIn that were in your target companies.
hmm
Did you get any interviews out of that or leads?
I did actually.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a couple, actually, I had three leads, but they were just taking so long, like to get to the next interview. Like I had met with the first level where you go from the recruiter, like, I don't know, like some of them were, the recruiters were just like the scrubbers, grabbing people, but the person that you actually interviewed with was next level,
Yep.
hiring manager, HR, whatever. So I did get, I don't know, there was two that I got from that, like reaching out. But I was like, and then I would go on to the website and I would look at people that work there and I would reach out to them, send them my resume on LinkedIn, and also give them my email and tell them what I was looking for and please pass it along. I had some people would reach out back for me on that. And then here's my LinkedIn.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, anything I can help with, let me know. There it is.
And I will make sure that I don't take a part-time job that's a full-time that can't be laid off because yeah,
Mhm.
I can't
Yeah,
believe they didn't let you go back in that. But Wyoming is really getting strict again. So the
yeah, mhm,
WIOA money is not available for anybody who has a BS.
yeah. And I made over $1,200. So
And
they
yeah,
said, yeah, it
they they give no money anymore.
was ridiculous.
And they are
So
very, very, very stingy
mm,
for single moms.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we don't have to worry about in Wyoming our Medicaid getting cut to single moms because the state doesn't fund it anyway. So
yeah,
it's why it has one of the highest death rates of women who are pregnant and uninsured, and one of the highest mortality rates. Alabama's number one, Wyoming's number two. Anyway, moving on to non-political, but that's why they don't fund it.
The good news about Wyoming that you guys get over anybody else is you get to collect unemployment right after you get your severance, and that's the only state right now that I know that does that, which is really cool.
yeah. That did happen.
So
For a
Mhm.
couple weeks for you, but yeah.
Right. I told him, lesson learned. It is noted. God forbid I'm in this situation again, but I will just wait. I said lesson learned.
But
But
all right. Any more, Carol?
nope, I'm gonna go on mute here again. Congrats.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey,
Super
this
excited.
is random. You don't know who's going to be next. Is it? Oh, someone's raising his hand. I guess the other person got taken out. There we go.
So, your resumes look very nice. They are well organized and stuff. How did you get past the ATS systems with those resumes, though? Because any sort of formatting um, and LHH help with my resume um, seems to really just absolutely confuse those systems.
Mhm.
So how did you get past all of that?
Well, I did it both with and without. I experimented because I said, because the everything is so inundated now and just there's so many that are just in the field that are just being laid off continuously and so I wanted to do opposite. I'm like, so whatever's working or whatever I'm doing isn't working. I wasn't getting any bites. I said screw it, I'm just gonna do old fashioned way and put in my other one, because I would literally spend 45 minutes doing, like putting in my resume, putting in the job description, spitting out a new resume that was bot friendly, putting it in, and I didn't see any difference in the results, to be honest. At least with my stuff, I did not. I don't know if it's different with different fields, and I don't know whether it's now the bots have gotten different and now they know if it's a bot resume, like they've learned, who knows. But so I just did opposite, just for shock value and to see if I could get something different. I also applied directly to the websites. And then if there was a recruiter, I would send my resume directly to her. And then I would follow up. And I also did for Scan, like every interview I had, I emailed them thank yous, of course. And I use ChatGPT to write it. I mean, anything you can do to save time, because it's so time consuming. It's absolutely so time consuming. I spent hours, but then I decided after I got done with the bank, because I spent hours, I mean, like 10 hours applying every day. I swear to you, it was brutal. Like I'm like relentless. And after I got done with the bank, I can't do that. Like I cannot do it anymore. So I committed 4 hours a day to doing it. And then I'd walk away because I could not just, I had to give myself a mental break, and, kind of have some sense of normalcy, especially with the kids. That was fun. Trying to act like all is well, the rock is fine, so, I think that was the hardest part for me was, having at night, like, yeah, I'd be in my closet with a drink, like I'm fine, no crying in front of the kids, but I get in my closet. But yeah, that was a hard time. It was very hard. So I just absolutely refused to believe it. And I looked into all different kinds of things. Like I got crazy. I'm like, all right, what are some frequency rhythms I can listen to? Whatever it took, right? And so I did that too. I just anything I could think of. Lots of prayers. I think I could have burned down a church. We had so many candles going. So, but yeah, I learned a lot. Definitely about LinkedIn. I changed the background. And then also on LinkedIn, I experimented with the green versus no green, like open to work thing. And so half the time I did the green, and then I took it off, and then I put in the actual like description in the body. I wrote open to work, and people picked it up that way too. So I don't know. I just kind of changed it up just to be different. I always tried to be a little bit different. Like I said, I was George Costanza. I just do the opposite, right? People say do this. No, I'm going to do the opposite.
Jason, she had a ATS optimized resume as well. She had.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
It does sound like a wild ride that you've had to endure. Lots of stress. I hope you have a chance to give yourself a little bit of free time and a chance to find some relaxation now that you're in a new job.
Yeah. Well, just waking up like employed, even though it's not started yet, just that it's just been like such a relief. Even with $200, it's just like that's all right. The cavalry's on the way. I know. I told everybody on Facebook I was going to start a GoFundMe account for the dogs, so they had food. Although they're out killing ground squirrels right now, so they're improvising. Oh.
She is truly in the wild.
Yeah, I have a horse and dogs and about the country, so that's why I was just looking around. I fought so hard to get my place for the kids. I call it the Miracle 5 because it's 5 acres and there's the 4 kids in me, so I call it the Miracle 5 Ranch, and so it's a pretty special place to me. So I was just like, nope, they are not going to break me. I am not going to get broke. I'm like a wild horse. They're not going to break me. So that's kind of was my mantra. They're not going to break me. They didn't. Almost, but they didn't.
Okay. Any more, Jason? All right. Next up, random. Who will it be? it will be Tony.
Hey, Carrie, congratulations.
Hi, thank
It,
you.
yeah, I'm glad your trial is coming to an end as well. So that's good.
Yes.
Just really no big questions from me, just because I've been out of work for so long and stuff, and everything that you've tried is just resonates that what I'm doing is the same. I've tried, and just for everybody else on the call as well, I've tried that as well. I've tried reaching out to recruiters. LinkedIn, they ghost you. Hey, I applied for this role. Here's my resume. I've tried all those things, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And so I think the biggest thing from this is I love your approach of the George Costanza, because sometimes it's just like, I've done this, right? I did this and I didn't get any results, or I did this and I did get a result, but the outcome was different, right? So I love your approach. I love your attitude too, by the way, of how, just it's just going to happen when it happens. And as sad as that is, sometimes for me, I'm 11 months in this month, 11 months, and the faith, the challenge, that part of it is tough. Burning the chapel down.
Yeah.
I've had smoke alarms go off several times. I'll just say that. So yeah, it's like grab the water. But anyway, so I do appreciate your attitude. I do appreciate the fact that that we have this opportunity to meet with people, right? Some weeks are really, really hard. And to see, an outcome or hear somebody's results of their hard work be positive, that's the reason why, if you wanted a sales pitch, Steve, that's it. Like, that's what job team is. It's just, it's just a positive thing to start the week out. So congratulations. I don't have any really questions for you. I'm just happy for you. Super happy for you and your family. So
thank you. Well, I have a question for you.
Oh,
what line of work are you looking for?
So when I started, it was all technology. It was all technology, software, backups, resiliency, leadership types of things like that. The one that I have that I'm hoping for next week is still in the financial industry, but it's not technology. So I've just been hitting it all. This is, I'm hoping by tomorrow, maybe even Wednesday, that I'll have something for sure locked down. So
okay, well, reach out, because I have some connections in that field too. Good. So that's like my goal, is I want to be able to help others, and because you find out who your friends are in this situation.
Oh no, for sure.
And I tell you what, I had more help from strangers than friends. Oh, that was the one thing I was going to tell everyone. In the very beginning, I have 11 letters of reference, like letters of recommendation, and I got a variety. So I had like 2 supervisors, 2 direct reports, 2 medical directors, and then I did, like cross-functional teams, like colleagues. But get a sampling, because then when like for scan, I sent all 11. I'm like, here you go. And then in the final, they said, well, I need 2 colleagues, I need all this. So then it was all ready to go, and I didn't have to waste time or, waste another week trying to get the interview. So that's one thing that I did do, was the references. I did those first thing out of the chute. So just for what it's worth.
And another, just a cheap plug too, you said there with references, but also with networking. So I was in St. George a week ago, and we went to the Mesquite buffet, a huge buffet in Mesquite type of thing down there. We ran into this couple from Las Vegas that had heard that Mesquite had better buffets than Las Vegas does. Anyway, I networked, right? Like in line waiting for
Tony, I'm rubbing off on you.
No, it's true though. But the guy, he's out of work. He's been selling timeshares out of Las Vegas and stuff. Anyway, so his girlfriend and I connected, which is it's a running joke, but it's still hilarious, by the way. So I am married, very happily married with kids, and I came out of that mesquite with a single girl's phone number and email. So that's it's kind of hilarious, but you know, you got to network, and that was the best part. Is she reached back out to me on Tuesday? She says, "Hey, I forwarded your resume to HR. We don't have anything right now, but anyway." So I'm 100% on board with all of that, right? You just got to be it. At first, it's hard to tell people that you're unemployed. Like once you get over that hump or kind of thing like that, it's huge. Like you just feel more comfortable with it. There's nothing wrong with you. That's I think the biggest thing where when I went into the unemployment, stuff was there's something wrong with me. I'm unemployed and I can't get a job or whatever. There's nothing wrong with us, guys. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just your opportunity hasn't opened yet. And I'm 100% believer of that. If you'd asked me that a couple of months ago, I'd have said, no, this is garbage. This is a bad time of my life, the whole deal. But not so much, right? And so stay positive for everybody else that's on the call as well. Carrie's results are what we're all looking for, and we're going to get them. Those doors are going to open. And so, yeah, anyway, congratulations. I just said it all again, but
yeah, no, I think that's great. And I think too, like with the interviewing that, and it's all just doesn't work until you actually get a physical person to talk to. You have to get past all of that bot stuff, the whatever's kicking them out. But once I know, like with me, once I was able to physically talk to somebody, even if it wasn't, video, but once I talked, then I could get an interview. So I think that's what's really the lost art was, being able to actually physically talk to somebody. And I think that was always my goal. Like, how can I physically talk to somebody? So that was one of my approaches too, was how can I backdoor this? How can I get in? Is there somebody that's already working there that I can just talk to, or, those type of things? Because I think that once that happened, then that would get the ball rolling. But yeah.
So kind of a funny flip story, and maybe I'll touch on this if things change out positively for me this week as well. But the role that I'm actually interviewing for is a result of another job interview with a recruiter with the company that didn't go anywhere. And because of that relationship that I built with that recruiter, I was able to say, hey, I just noticed this job was posting, and then drop it. Right.
Exactly.
And I've done that multiple times, and I've seen more success with that than anything else. So 100% go with that as well.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else, but yeah, I'm serious. I'd reach out, friend CEOs, didn't care. I'd email them too through LinkedIn. I get some responses sometimes too. It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But,
okay, good. Okay, Steve.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tony. I have one more to go with Tony's comment. Circumstances don't define you.
Yes. And good luck.
They refine you.
Okay,
next up, who's going to be random? It is going to be Justin.
Hi.
Let me unmute myself. Congratulations on getting a job within your time. I mean, yeah, it's close, but
oh man, brutal fumes.
I may have missed it. That you mentioned you had some issues with the unemployment. Can you expound on that or?
So what happened is that I qualified initially, but because I took a job for 3 weeks and made over $1,200, they kicked me out of being able to receive unemployment after I quit the bank, because I wasn't laid off from the bank. And so because I quit it canceled my ability to get unemployment.
Oh, completely.
So if you take a job, be careful. I was trying to do it for insurance, but yeah, hindsight 2020 on that one. But I did have insurance for a month.
and her state, she gets unemployment even though she gets a severance check immediately. She doesn't have to wait.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Haven't got mine yet because of the severance, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just
I was,
seeing, pitfalls you can
yeah.
run.
Just be careful getting a job and, part-time,
Okay.
unless it's cash, maybe.
Uh, Well, you can get a part-time job as long as you declare that you're doing, like I have some people who've done the Amazon deliveries, where you can sign up to run that for 2 hours and yeah,
Okay.
or Uber, you don't get dinged. You just have to declare it. You're doing something to do that, and then they will possibly take some of, well, you don't have to worry about it, Justin, because you're not getting unemployment now. But if you were, you just have to declare it. And if you had, let's say, what's the maximum?
I think it
700,
was
740,
30%.
you would, it would be reduced by
Recently.
some of the money you're making.
Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. But yeah, yeah, cool. That's the questions I had, and congratulations.
Oh, thanks. Hang in there.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, randomly polled. Roger.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
What resume do you think helped you the most getting a job?
You know, I think it was my rolled up one, um, where I had, so it didn't look like I had so many jobs, like because I was within the same company. It's just that, like every 2 years or whatever, they would move me around. Um, so it made it look like I was with the company for, 7.5 years, which I was. So I think it reflected more what my status was with the company. It wasn't just that I was job hopping. So I think the rolled up one with the brand on it worked the best.
Were you looking for work outside of Wyoming as well, like in Colorado? Because you're so close to a lot of
Yep.
development in Colorado.
Yep. I looked everywhere. I was nationally looking. I just couldn't move. And so some of the contracts you had to be physically living in that state in order to have it. So I was looking for more of that remote position. I was looking that, for commuting because I'm about an hour 15 from Denver, without traffic or accidents. But Fort Collins is pretty close too. But then you have to pay state income tax. Where in Wyoming I don't. So it's like, and then gas. So then I was like kind of weighing out, is it really worth it in the end? But money coming in is definitely better than no money coming in.
It's true.
Yeah, so I did look around me, statewide, but I was just trying to keep that commute thing under, consideration.
Now, when you were around that interview and they just disconnected you, ghost you like that,
That was so weird.
did you get a response back from them?
Nope,
No.
nothing, nothing. It was just gone. I'm like, what just happened? And so I reached out to them, with my thank you note and said, thank you, appreciate the time. And I wanted to say the weirdness of all of that, but and I said, here is my presentation. I didn't know if you needed it. And they said, no, thank you. You're no longer considered. And I'm like, well, that was an epic waste of my time. I put hours into that presentation. So,
Wasn't that frustrating?
well, I think, honestly, my opinion, I think that sometimes they look for people that have experience and then they have you do it so that they can take your ideas of what you've already done. And so I think it's just a strategy that some companies use to extract information. I really do. And then they can take that ideas and run with it because I know I'm not the only one. A couple of my colleagues it happened to as well that they had to do presentations. And we've all come to the conclusion that's what it is because then they hire internally. They've already taken external information, and then they can be creative and bounce off of that, or see what other people in the market's doing. So I have a theory about that, but that's my conspiracy.
I heard other people say the same thing.
Mhm.
They're gathering up your ideas and running with them.
Yeah, I really think that they are, especially the experienced ones. I really do. I do.
My opinion is if you're doing a presentation, on the presentation it says this is intellectual property. It is only to be used if you hire me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not, I mean, because Mike's not here, Mike Anderson, but he sometimes would spend a whole day, or like you said, Carrie,
Yeah.
the weekend, and for that, you're right. What doesn't matter how you used it, um, but a lot of people will ask for a presentation. That's where using AI is very helpful to help us come up with some great ideas, and especially AI knows those companies, so they can actually pull stuff as well. So, but that's always a thing. If it's on a presentation, it's like, um, this is intellectual property. I've spent time doing this, so it just says at the bottom, purposes, for the purpose of you hire me only.
Yeah. I just think that I don't know, they take it and run. That's my opinion, but
I agree with you. I agree with you, but that's
uh-huh.
that's a thought.
Yeah.
Well, once again, congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
And on a side note, Jason, I did check with unemployment in Utah. And if you do get a job and you start it and you don't like it, it's a toxic environment and you leave, you can't go back and retain your unemployment benefits within a year and start getting unemployment again. So something to keep in mind.
Oh, I did do a spreadsheet too, like an Excel spreadsheet of what company, what position, who I talked to, and like the date, because I did so many, you lose track. And so then I knew also what companies not to reach out to, that they were fake, applications, in my opinion, that, to make it look like the company was growing. And so, but I did do an Excel sheet with that, because then I could refer to them later, like for the networking, like what you did with that recruiter previously. Same thing, you could go back and then you have your contact information at the ready, makes it faster.
That's one of the things I had problems with is recruiters that would call me for a position
Mm-hmm.
and you would give me a resume and you were a good fit for the position
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden you never heard from them again. You send emails to them, you try calling them, they won't answer, they
Mm-hmm.
just ghost you and it's frustrating.
I know. I was laughing to myself saying that maybe I should be a recruiter, because it seems like that's an easy job to do. I'm just going to apply to be a recruiter. It's just like maddening. I'm like, I could be like awesome, because all you got to do is put effort in for the people that you're helping, and you're already light years ahead of the ones that are already out there.
Oh,
All
I'm
right.
done, Steve.
Thank you, Roger. Next up is Chris Hislop. Chris, are you there?
I'm here. Excuse me. So Carrie, just like want to echo what everyone else is saying. Congratulations, that's awesome. And I
Thank you.
and rather than it being the summer of George, that's a Seinfeld, reference, it'll be the summer of Carrie. So summer of George.
That's
Uh,
right.
so just kind of walk me through now the job that you got, it took 2 months to go through the whole process, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So kind of walk me through the last couple of weeks where you've invested 2 months, you're getting close to your deadline. Like what was kind of going through your head? Like what happens if you don't get it?
Oh man, I didn't sleep at all. I wanted to throw up most of the time. And I was just, there was so much writing on it. I mean, everything was writing on it. And so I just had to really compartmentalize, um, and focus. And so that's when I would, to kind of take some of the stress, I would compartmentalize and get on Chat GPT and say, okay, what can I control? I'm going to see if I could be so prepped for these questions, and that'll really help me, maybe feel less anxious going into the call, that I am so prepped. And so that's what I
Oh,
did. I just
really quick. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. That's the
no,
other thing too, real quick. Did the Chat GBT going through the questions and then giving you just kind of basic answers, did that help as well during the interview process?
oh, definitely, because I made note cards. Because I kept going, okay, using my resume with actual results from my resume help me answer these questions. And I'd have it do bullet points for me. And I even have make like a graph, like a chart, like for, I guess like for, like here's something I did, like for scan, like I wanted like the overall, the evolution of, when they began to where they like, I don't know if you can see it, but like I made like an actual chart, like how it evolved. So then when I went to talk to them, or if it got brought up, I could talk about, oh yeah, I remember like, in the 70s, it started off like that. So then you could kind of be in the know of what they did. And then I also, like I was part of the PACE program here in Cheyenne. I ran the one in Cheyenne here. And they're starting up something similar with the PACE Center with SCAN. So I did the same thing where I did like a comparison of my my PACE Center with what they were going to be doing, and how they were similar and different. So I did that too. So those are some of the talking points that I had at the ready, were some of these charts that I could review, and because I'm a writer, so I always have to write things and for my brain to remember it. So I did a lot of those type of things. And I felt really prepared going in. Mine was just really working on relaxing. And so what I had to do was just visualize like with that last one that I did, I just pretended it was my one-on-one with them with my first day at work. Like, how, you meet and greet with the new team, and so that there's no pressure on what you're saying, because it's just a one-on-one meeting and greeting, and they're going to ask you questions. And so I had to mentally psych myself up to think that I was just meeting and greeting with them, because my level of anxiety was nuclear, like off the charts. There was so much writing on it. So that's kind of how I had to visualize it, and really just keep my energy down. And I didn't like prep. I would take like maybe a half hour. Like if there was an interview that day, I wouldn't prep all morning, because it just like I would prep the night before, and then I would get up, relax, have breakfast, just really take it easy, so that I would keep my energy and my anxiety down when I went into interview, because I was a hot mess. That's the only way to describe it. Hot mess. Freaking out. Yeah. So I had to really fake that I wasn't, because I knew I could do the job. I mean, I had done the job for 4 years previously with good results, but if you can't convey that because you're so psyched, mentally gone, that was what I had challenges with, was just trying to get mentally like in the zone. So that's kind of what I tried to do to kind of help with some of the anxiety, but it was rough. I'm not gonna lie.
We made it. You made it on the other side, so that's awesome.
Vodka cranberry in the closet crying at night. That was that helped me too. On the really bad nights, I'm like, okay, Carrie, you got this.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks. I'm pretty excited.
Okay. Get back here. Sorry. Thank you, Chris.
And I was going to ask too, if anybody's made deadlines, like, have you set has anybody put in like, okay, 4 months was mine, and I had it on like the calendar, like 4 months, I will have it done by then. So then I could keep visualizing that, I will have this done by 4 months. And I just wondered if anybody else had any results, doing it that way too, with the goal setting.
My goal setting has been reset 20 times, so
oh no.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, okay. Goals are important.
My goal set is by the end of the summer.
Okay.
No, it's a 2-month process, to go through the interviewing and all that. So.
Okay.
Okay. Next up is Arian. Welcome to Job Team on your first time,
Hi.
Yeah. Thanks.
I love that paint color. I love that. It's so soft and blue. I like that.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, it's calming.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Carrie, for sharing your story. I found it very like inspiring. I want to ask what day, like when exactly did you get your job? This one?
Um, Last Friday. Yeah. Last,
Oh, okay. Okay.
yeah, it literally just happened. So I had my last interview with the HR, and then because they interviewed me too, it was like a true interview with HR. I thought we were going to maybe go over, oh, here's the benefits. Oh, no, no, no. Even HR had questions, and it was like yeah, they were tough. It was
Well,
tough to, it's like Fort Knox to get in, but they have a great culture, you know. So I guess, I guess something works. It's just not good when you're applying.
yeah.
But, yeah, so it just recently happened. Yeah.
Okay, nice. And you have a week to just relax and then
Yes, I can
back to work.
actually relax, right? I wish I had money that I could go on a vacation, but I definitely need one. But just the mental, you know, even if it's fumes right now, the money will be coming. You know, I saved the house. I walk around and I'm like, oh my God, I saved my house. It's like such a huge thing, huge. So I'm very grateful, been very, very grateful, very thankful. And so however I can help others, I'm telling you, I relied a lot on strangers. So I am more than happy to reciprocate whatever I can do to help. Because I know a lot of people in the different fields because I worked with, you know, IT and, it was United was biggest healthcare company in the world. So, I mean, it's like I've worked with finance and all of them on the national team. So, I mean, I have a lot of connections that I can help others too. So that's really my goal is to help other people at this point.
That's great. And yeah, hopefully you can go on a vacation soon.
Ah, yes. Well, SCAN is located in Long Beach, California. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, if I have to go out there, they're in Texas and New Mexico, and there's one more, Texas, New Mexico, and Nevada. And so, if I know for doing training that I'll have to go out to California eventually, so I'm going to take an extended weekend and just lay on the beach and do absolutely nothing. I'm just going to lay there and like, I did it. I did it. So yeah, definitely need a break. But mentally it's great knowing that something's coming. That's a huge lift.
Any other questions?
No, that was it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next up is, I think he's been in and out, but he's back.
The man of the hour.
Yeah, well, I think everybody's of the hour, that's what I want to think. So it's Dexter. Now Dexter have to adjust it so we can see him, but Dexter's getting 2 masters at one time at the University of Utah. Dexter,
Holy moly.
are you there, Dexter?
I need that skill set.
Yeah, I'm here. I hope you can see me.
You look really short.
we get oh, there we go.
I've been having issues with my camera.
If I didn't know better, I'd think he was on an airline, just kidding.
Right. There you are.
Yeah, congratulations on your new opportunity.
Thank you.
I think one of the important questions for me is that when you lost your unemployment, did that affect, like, how would it, how do you think your outcome would have been different had you had your unemployment would have been more of a buffer of finding something more suitable? And then also, how did that affect, like, you have kids?
Mm-hmm.
How did you balance your work life with finding a job and your kids? How did you go through that whole process?
Yeah, it was hard. So as far as the unemployment, taking the job at the bank, the goal was to get insurance. But I didn't, I've never been on unemployment before. So I guess I wish I would have known that it would have negated being able to be back on if it didn't work out. So I should have quit the second week versus waiting till that Wednesday because it had to be under that $1,200 in order to continue receiving unemployment. Even though I told them, I'm like, I'm not getting child support, I'm getting absolutely nothing. And so, isn't there anything that they could do? And no, they were investigating. So I'm still waiting for that result. I'm still applying as if, I can get it. So I don't think I will from what the tone of her voice was. I'm pretty good with that. But yeah, it was very frustrating, very, very frustrating. And I think what I had the hardest time with was just keeping my stress and not taking it out on the kids, like trying to keep a sense of normalcy. And so I cleaned a lot. My house was very clean. I did a lot. I did a lot of stress cleaning, things that I could do just to get the stress out while they're at school. Like I said, I'm debarking a tree right now. So I did some very physical things. My back was killing me, but yeah, just trying to get that extra stress out was key. And then initially, I did a lot. Like, I mean, I swear to you, I was on like 10 hours trying to apply. Like, I was just crazy out of the chute because that was in January. January 23rd is when I found out. And from that day on, I was just like pounding applications. But after working at the bank and then coming back, I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. I mentally, I'm going to have a nervous breakdown. I cannot do this. And so that's when I like limited it to 4 hours a day. I was extremely savvy, frugal with my severance that I got. There was only so much I allotted myself each month. We didn't get to do as much or I didn't buy chips and whatever. Like I kept like to very key things, food wise, and I was very very like less trips into town because I live 25 minutes out of town, so that's a lot of gas. Um, so I limited, trips to town and all of that. So I had to change up some stuff, but tried not to make it too, and I did talk to the kids about it. Like I did brace them for worst case scenario that, we might have to move. And if we move, it'll be out of state. The radicals, I mean, they were freshmen and sophomores. So, their friend group is everything at that age. So, kind of bracing them like this is the reality of our life right now. And so that I don't think they ever really truly comprehended the gravity of it, but just because they're used to, well, mom will just handle it, mom will do it. But yeah, it's at the end there, that was so scary. That last week was very very scary for me, but we made it, so that's the good thing. But yeah, balancing is very tricky, but I really had to compartmentalize. I really did, and a lot of cleaning. A whole lot of cleaning.
Did I hear that you had like 6 interviews with Scan Health?
Yeah, well, with Scan, I did. Yeah, there was different levels. I had the hiring manager, I had the recruiter, then I had a panel, like what would be my team, and then I had an additional panel with my boss's colleagues, and then I had a interview with my would-be, boss, the hiring manager. So that's, I guess I already said hiring manager, and then I had to meet with his boss, so skip level. And then I met with HR. So it was just like, and each thing was like a week out, like you couldn't just do it back to back or knock them all out. So it was like a week or 2 weeks out. So that's what took so long. People on vacation and then trying to, get the panel interviews with the 4 people. It's like everybody's schedules and then with summer break and vacations and all of that. So I don't know. It just took a while. It took a while, but
Are
I
you
guess
pretty comfortable with interviews? Would you have any tips on interviewing with um, that amount of interviews for one position?
Yeah, I think for me, it was just really for each level, I would give myself, through Chat GPT, I would put in the person's name. I researched everyone, like the person that was interviewing me. I'd go on LinkedIn and I would stalk them, like what their likes are, what they don't like, what they're passionate about, where they're located, anything I could think of to like, I could bring up in the interview to talk about that, would maybe perk their interest or that they would remember me. And then I also got a feel of what the person was like from the pictures. Sometimes pictures tell a lot. And so that's what I would do to prep for each step of the way. So I knew going into that panel of 4 people, I knew all 4 of them. Once in a while, they'll throw you off. I had one where I had prepped like that, but they threw in a new person because somebody was sick. But overall, you're prepped on who they are, what their backgrounds are. Like the one interview, I knew that they were all social workers. So a lot of my questions I did was related to how can, I have the social workers, like how can I tailor a question that would resonate with a social worker? So not just clinical, like as far as nursing. And so it kind of helped me tailor some of my responses that way. Um, and I think that that's the biggest thing that I did was just research every single person that I was talking about, and then I knew the company inside and out. Like I would do Chat GPT and then do tell me about Scan, for example, and then like give me bullet points to talk about what are key initiatives, what's their mission, ways of working, anything that I could come up with, and I'd have bullet points on note cards. And then I'd have those all over my computer. And so when I would go into the interviews, I literally, it's a lot of prepping, but I would be able to speak to it that way. So those are some of the things that I did. I just really, really prepped. Um, just kept pounding myself with questions of anticipated questions. Yeah.
And finally, if you had to give yourself one advice when you first were laid off, what would that be? Like for somebody that's just starting as well.
Okay, so when I was first laid off, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me was limit the time with the computer, because it just consumes you, and then it gets more and more like defeating. You're sitting at the computer for 10 hours and then you get 3 rejection letters a day. It's just like, why am I even doing this? And so I think really limiting my time, and then seeing like the outside world, and doing things, catching up on things or just doing nothing, like sleep in. Like I never get to sleep in. So just sleep in, give yourself permission to do that. I think that that's one of the things, like looking back, that I wish I would have done different. But just believing this is going to happen. Like I'm just not accepting anything else. Like I really did have that attitude. Like no, I've worked so hard.
I definitely agree with that. I had a couple of days last week where I was just overwhelmed. And then like a couple of days later, it just turns around. It's just like, okay, here's another opportunity.
Yeah.
I think those opportunities just come and go, and you just have to space yourself in between.
Yeah, I mean, there was some days like, all I did was cry the whole day. I mean, that's the reality of it. But I kind of pride myself on being strong, but man, that tested my constitution on a lot of levels. But yeah, I don't know. I just would then get mad. I'd channel the sad into mad, like, nope, they're not gonna break me. I'm not gonna get broken. And just kind of channel that energy differently, from anxiety to no, I'm not gonna get broken. I'm not gonna lose this and I'm gonna show them. And that's what I did. So at the end, I mean, it's nice now that it's over. But I was just in your shoes like 2 weeks ago, so this is still very surreal to me that I actually got something, but that I got the approval and all of that. But I think just when it does come, definitely negotiate and don't be as scared to negotiate. because, HR expects that. It's just that nobody does it. And so then they save money, right? But I don't think it'll kick you out from your, odds of getting the job. I think it's showing that you know your worth, but
Exactly.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. That's all the questions I have, Steve.
Okay.
Yeah, good luck too.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Dexter. Last up is Jason Green.
Hi, Jason.
Hi. It's good to see you again.
Yeah,
Because you've only been here once or twice
yeah,
before.
because my interviews were all on those other times. I
Oh,
had to
right.
prep, and yeah, it was crazy.
And you're talking about prepping, but you just heard this Friday. So it's pretty good presentation on 2 days' notice
Yeah,
over the weekend.
yeah,
Um, and I'm sure Steve jumped right on you you need to do a landing talk. Um,
yeah.
yeah, the other Jason grabbed one of my main questions about how those beautiful resumes would go through the ATS.
Mhm.
Um, and those are the ones that your graphic designer friend helped you lay out.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, those are pretty. Um,
Is it okay if
but
I share them, Carrie, with the group?
Oh, yeah. Go right ahead.
Okay.
You can and do my other template too. All three of them. That's fine.
Okay.
Whoever wants to use them. I mean, if you have a last name that starts with a B or a first name, you're golden. But
but so did humans ever see those?
yeah. Oh, yeah. I passed them out. I went to job fairs and I passed them out too. I did do a job fair. It wasn't very productive. I would ask them, well, what positions do you have? And they were like, well, we're really not hiring now. And I said, isn't this a job
Job
fair?
fair.
This is
Yeah.
job fair. I said, okay, well, here's my, resume if you need it. So I'd always have hard copies, but,
Yeah,
and
we're
then
just
I
here at the job fair to show off the jobs we have,
don't
not that
have,
we're going to let you have them.
yeah, it was the dumbest thing I've ever been part of, but I was hoping it would be a better result, but
And you talked about, and I wasn't sure that this was the set of interviews that you got the job with, but you said one set of people marked you as, well, she doesn't really know anything about running a team, but
mhm,
then talking to others that, well, obviously she did ran a team. Is
mhm.
this for the scan medical?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was just kind of interesting. But I just had to show in the next round that they don't know what they're talking about, and I didn't take it. I tried not to take it personal, because I understand that, if this is the horrible job market and they wanted their friend to be over them, who is a social worker, so that they could kind of keep the same culture going, but the company wanted to go in a different direction. And I don't think they knew that at the time. So, based on the information that they had, the other candidate was probably better in their mind. So, but I think that once there was some announcements made and they have a new CMO that's only been there like a month, that's really wanting to change things. And so I think that hopefully it'll make more sense to them as to why, I was the pick, but and they'll just see. I've worked in like very hornet nest situations, and my very first job with United, it was horrendous. I was the fourth director in a year and a half of the project going live.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was a pilot for Optum, and there was three different channels that were part of it. So they all had three different competing agendas, of course, and budgets. And I was on the health management team for medical clinical ops. And so our job was to run the state for Medicaid. It was for Wyoming. And so I had clinical and non-clinical, like nurses and behavioral health. And then I had community health workers that were non-clinical underneath me, and that we would provide complex care for Medicaid for the state. And, when I walked in, there was like 47, 47 corrective action plans that I had to remediate in 3 months, or we were going to lose the contract. And, my team was just like a hornet's nest. I mean, because they were just used to being in this washing machine, do this, do this, do this. And so I really had to come in and, kind of calm everything and, get my team in order first, and then work on the customer, and then work on, my boss, and, that kind of thing. But really my team was number one to kind of get calmed down. So I figured if I was able to do that and we did it,
Right.
we were able to do it, and we actually at the end of it we got 2 contract extensions, so we did a really good job. But walking into this, they don't know me, they don't know my style. I'm kind of a wildcat. I don't do I'm not like your typical manager director. I'm more real. I'm very transparent. So I know, like I said, the George Costanza thing,
Well,
uh,
I love
I'm
that
definitely
reference.
opposite. I So, and I think people appreciate that because everything's so PC, and you have your talking points, and it just sounds so phony, and they don't believe you. So, I think that there's a lot to be said with being real, and people appreciate it. I know I do when somebody just tells me like the truth and just say, "This is where we're at. This is what's happening." Then that's great. Then what can we do to solution? That's what it comes down to. But yeah, so it'll be interesting walking in a little bit to a culture that's very used to social work, and then bridging that with nursing. So that's going to be my biggest challenge, I think, walking in. Yeah,
Well, culture change.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So just got to build trust, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I thank God that you got this job just in the nick of time,
It
and
was,
and
it was.
I appreciate your talk. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
yeah. Well, I'm wishing everyone good luck. I really am. And I completely empathize with everyone. So, like I said, if there's, let me know what you guys are looking for positions, and I'll pass along to people that I know. So really do reach out. I'm serious when I say that. Steve will know. Steve knows. I'm very like serious. So reach out, and I'll pass it along to who I know if I know anybody, or maybe I could give some suggestions. But I'm here to help, and I want everybody to be across the finish line, because it's not for the faint of heart. It's really not, and it really gets into your psyche, like who was saying that before, where it's like what happens? Am I defective? What?
Right.
And then with being in my 50s, I'm like,
Right.
what do I need to do? Am I need to like put some other type of shirt on? I don't know. Wear my hair different? I don't know. But so it's different too when you have all that experience. And like the person I interviewed with, she was 33, and I've been a nurse for 28 years. I mean, I've been a nurse as long as she's been alive almost. So it's
Right.
like, trying to connect with the younger population, like what they want to hear, what they find important, um, you know, that kind of thing. I think that was some of my challenges. So I just kind of drill into what my teens have taught me. And my young adult children. I mean, like what's cool now with that? What's some words I can use? And
Groovy.
groovy, right? Right. I know.
That sounds 70s.
Oh,
Yeah,
or 60s, but whatever.
I know. It's kind of funny. It's just different, especially telephonic, you know. But yeah.
All right, Jason. Any more questions, Jason?
No, just take care and good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. As we wrap up, any last parting words, or do you want to tell anybody that this is not that you hit rock bottom once before this, and that so that's why you're so determined never to hit rock bottom again.
Oh yeah. Well, not to, have a whole therapy session, but with the kid's dad, obviously he's not exactly stellar. But he had left us homeless. I was when the four kids were really little. And so rebuilding and getting my home again and all of that, at 15 years later, I'm very proud of my, what I've done for the kids and myself. And so, it triggered a lot of that old trauma,
Memories.
Yeah. Yeah. So when it was getting this close, I'm just like, this cannot be happening again. I will not. I have gone through too much. I've, done all of my stripes, and it's just like, I cannot, it's just not going to happen. I just absolutely just told God, no way. I've already done this once. I do not have the strength to do this again. It's just not going to happen. And so, yeah, so it came down to the wire. It really did. But, yeah, so you guys have to hang in there. I know it's a journey, and, some days are worse than others. And like I said, some nights I was with a White Russian or a vodka cranberry crying in my closet, but you get whatever you can do to get through the day.
This may cause some people who don't drink to start drinking.
I tell you what, yeah, make it a virgin one. Just drink cranberry juice, but whatever. I cried in my closet a lot. But just staying strong for the kids and just really staying focused. That's what I had to do, is really compartmentalize. I kind of went back to my ICU days, when I was a ICU nurse in neurotrauma, and I'd have to go from one room where it was a brand new patient, we were venting and just all that chaos going on when you first get a patient, to one that was going home. So you'd have to switch. You'd be like, okay, intensity here, we're going to save the patient, to, oh, how's your day going? I'm so excited for you. You're going home. So, I really tried to channel those ICU days where, you had to flip, back and forth and just focus in the moment. So that's what, I really tried to do with this whole adventure, was especially after the bank and that whole disaster, and then finding out I'm not going to have any support of any kind. It just was, I really had to do that. So otherwise it was just too catastrophic for me. Yeah. But, I just really appreciate everybody's support, and anything I could do to support anyone else. And thank you, Steve, for putting this together. It's a lot of fun, and it's definitely something I needed when, especially first getting laid off. I was just like, I don't even know where to start. I had never used Chat GPT and any of that kind of stuff. And so I got a lot of really good ideas from other people that were in my shoes right now, hearing their story and getting ideas. I did use Chat GPT from that one gal that had talked previously, where she put in the jobs, like searching for jobs related to blah. And then I put that into Chat GPT. That would pull up jobs. So that did do it. So I had some different ones from that weren't just LinkedIn. So I did use that technique. But yeah, it's exhausting. It's mentally draining. Anybody needs to call me. I'm here. If you, if anybody can empathize with anything, it's me. So, if you need to talk or whatever, cry, we can drink cranberry juice together. But yeah, it's a journey. But thank you, Steve. Really, really appreciate all the support, especially the one-on-ones too. My falling off the ledge, when I found out I couldn't get unemployment and then child support, I was a little spicy. And so, you're a great wealth of support and positivity, and thank you. I appreciate everybody for that too. You need it through this. So if there's any way I can help others, let me know. And on my resume, it has my phone number too. So if you need anything, call, text, anything I can do, I'm here to support, or reach out to Steve and he can find me or whatever. So.
Okay. So Carrie, let's give her a big, huge round of applause, a big thank you. And I did put her stuff, it's in the chat. So if you click on those links, I made sure they weren't restricted. So so I think we just you poured out your heart. Thank you.
Yeah. No, it's just who I am. I'm pretty transparent. So like I said, if you need anything, I'm serious with that. So I'm been in the telephonic world a long time. So I have connections. I have friends, like classmates that are in biochemistry. So I know people that know people. So if you guys, if there's a niche that you're looking for, reach out and I'll see what I have for connections to connect you with.
Cool. Well, this is Carrie Brown. She's sharing her tribe and her story. So again, one more big round of applause.
Thank you.
And we'll end this recording. Thank you, Carrie.
Yeah, thank you, Steve.